start with you. Does deflation deepen further from here, or have we seen the worst of it?
Well, I believe the inflation pressure will be more so in 2024, actually, than this year. One main reason, of course, is the weak consumer market. That's a direct result of income growth slowdown. But a more important reason is actually the low inflation expectation. That's a bit counterintuitive, but if the inflation is too low, people will postpone their consumption of especially durable goods. Like this year, we have seen very weak sales of EVs. There has been a price war of almost all brands of EVs in China. But when consumers see prices going down, they will not buy a durable goods like that. They will only wait. And that can drag down the inflation even further in the future.
In terms of the weak consumer market, I'm just wondering how much unemployment plays into that. Because, of course, 6 months ago we had the youth unemployment rate at 21%. We don't know where it's at now. When you look at the urban rate, that's around 5%. But my understanding is that it doesn't include, for example, rural migrant workers that have lost their jobs returning home.
Exactly. This urban unemployment figure doesn't capture the overall perception of the weakness in the job market. But it's quite a complicated market now. It's actually not too difficult to land on a job for low-skilled labor. It's easy to get a job like delivery man or delivery woman or working as some sort of online streaming workers. Or in the manufacturing industry, finding a frontline assembly job is not that difficult either. But the quality of jobs have gone down quite significantly in the past year. The average wage for frontline workers have in general been going down by about 10 to 30% among the factories I have visited. And for fresh graduates, the situation is more dire. And this is the first year, actually, in China that fresh graduates, the high-skilled laborers, to experience a real difficulty to find a job. And that goes hand in hand with a sharp contraction in the high-end services sector, and that is housing, IT, and finances. I believe this situation will last well into 2024. Although in a few years, I believe the tide will eventually turn around. But in the next year or two, no one will feel very comfortable in the job market.
Wang, should we expect more problems and deeper stress in the real estate market in China? Or has the leadership got a handle? Has that been contained?
Well, for housing markets, the consensus now is that we have reached the rock bottom, basically. When it comes to housing investment, it's about 1/3 down year on year. For new housing construction, it has been quite weak, but the construction of residential homes have been ongoing. The major real estate developers have received tremendous support from local and central government. So I think the situation is more or less contained. But when it comes to housing price, we are far from reaching the bottom, unfortunately. There has been this effort from all levels of government and regulators to have this controlled decline in residential home prices. And in the past few months, it's quite obvious that despite all kinds of stimulus plans from the local government, there hasn't been much of a revival in home transaction. And home prices, in particular in large cities, has stayed quite weak. Even in places like most districts in Beijing or Shanghai, the second-hand housing price have been going down. So in the next few years, we probably will see further down in the residential home prices. But simultaneously, the construction of affordable housing or low-cost rental housing will pick up. But these projects are sponsored and financed by the government and policy banks rather than by the private investors.
Dan, given this continuing drag in the property sector, I'm wondering what your thoughts are going into 2024, taking into consideration the comments that the Politburo made on Friday about stability and growth. And also, of course, we've got that Central Work Economic Conference coming up as well. What do you think investors can expect coming out of that as well?
Well, the Politburo meeting did make some narratives that they might do more aggressive stimulus, especially in the infrastructure building. But the market, at least at this point, hasn't bought it yet. There were a number of top-profile meetings and top-profile officials making the gesture that the central government will do something. So far, what they have been doing is to take over some of the local government debt and hint that there will be more support for the local construction, like city renovation program or some sort of cross-provincial infrastructure program. Some of the high-speed railways, for example, that were previously disapproved now have been approved. And these are some of the efforts from the government trying to bolster growth. But I do not expect any big stimulus plan from the government. And one main reason for that is there's no appetite from the regulator side to blow up the asset bubble again. So they want to contain the risks. They want to consolidate the smaller banks because they are highly exposed to housing sector. And that means we probably will see this kind of lackluster economic recovery in the months to come.